She has touched me.
If anyone wants to talk like that, you will be muted and removed from this meeting. This is about equity. I don't care if they're a sex offender. Everyone deserves housing.
Seattle, their homeless task force nominated a guy to join the board. In 2010, he was convicted of raping a 13-year-old. In 2012, he was charged with raping a 15-year-old. And then in 2018, cops found him living in a tent with a minor.
What? Let's talk about it. Guys, before we get into this absolutely insane video out of Seattle, please like and subscribe. I want as many people to find this channel as possible so you know what to do. Let's watch.
Seattle, their homeless task force nominated a guy named Thomas Whitaker, who goes by Raven Crowfoot, to join the board.
He looks perfectly professional.
Raven is one of the strongest shatterers primetime has ever seen. He's homeless, gay, an American Indian. There's just one problem.
Thomas Whitaker, Raven Crowfoot, is a sex offender, a repeat sex offender, and I have had bad experience with him.
So I'm going to cut you off because we can't disclose people's personal business here, right?
Okay.
And although that's public disclosure, like, we have no right to out anybody in this space.
First of all, back up from the camera. Second of all, what are you talking about? Now, I get she shouldn't have got into maybe her personal encounters with this guy, but to say, yo, dude's a registered sex offender, maybe he shouldn't be on the board, that's perfectly valid to say. And you hear her sort of backtrack and go, although that is publicly disclosed, insanity. But it gets crazier.
Okay, I thought thinking of
Right?
what
Like, that's just not okay at all.
Okay.
And I won't
And I
stand for that
apologize.
as a co-chair.
No,
We're not
we don't
here
do
to
that here.
discover
No.
people's backgrounds. And actually, I'm glad that if that is the case, that he's here.
What?
Because sex offenders are another population that is most vulnerable that don't have housing.
So sex offenders shatter now. This lady's telling the board that Raven Crowfoot is a rapist, and they're happy about that.
That doesn't make sense.
They manage $250 million of mostly taxpayer money. Is Raven qualified for that job? Well, let's look at his resume. In 2010, he was convicted of raping a 13-year-old. In 2012, he was charged with raping a 15-year-old. And then in 2018, cops found him living in a tent with a minor.
What the hell is this dude doing out in civilization is what I don't understand. That was, what, 13 years ago? You've been convicted of raping a, what, 12-year-old?
Different, but not really.
And a 15-year-old? Jail. The gulag.
Oh, and he even molested the board member who called him out. Watch.
she has touched me. So if there's a meeting where he's
Christina,
at, I will not
you
be able
need to
be
take
there.
this to the police then. Christina,
I have.
this is not the forum.
Stop, Christy. Christy, stop. As the co-chair, I'm telling
I
you
will.
that you cannot talk like that in this meeting.
Okay, I get maybe not being able to bring up personal accusations that haven't seen their way through the courts, but when she's actively trying to tell them, hey, guess what? He's a sex offender convicted of raping minors, and she's had these personal encounters, don't you think that might be something they want to know? And maybe that's an HR thing, right? You bring up your personal encounters to HR, and maybe the fact that he's a convicted rapist, you can bring that up in this meeting, but it's absolutely crazy and wild that this lady is simply trying to advocate for herself and for the safety of other people on this board and saying, you know what, maybe he should not be the pick. And to see how adamantly she is defending this man and going as far as to say that she is glad that he's a sex offender because he's particularly vulnerable. What about the young children that he raped? They're particularly vulnerable. Disgusting.
I will not have that here. If anyone wants to talk like that, you will be muted and removed from this meeting. Board member or public or not. This is about equity. And everyone deserves housing. I don't care if they're a sex offender. I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're indigenous. I don't care if they're a criminal. I don't care if they're coming out of jail, prison. Everyone deserves housing.
So everyone's equal, everyone shatters, nothing you do is wrong.
What a mentally unstable woman. You know what? I'll go out. He does deserve housing. Housing in a federal facility with prison guards. And for her to put together this list, everyone deserves housing. I don't care if they're a sex offender. I don't care if they're black. Pause.
Oh, hold up!
sex offender and black, you're putting those in the same sentence to talk about who deserves housing. I get the point that she's trying to make, but can we be serious? You saw the guy. You heard the record. If you're living in Seattle and looking around the city and going like, oh, what are all these homeless people doing running about? Why are all these mentally ill and drug addicted individuals doing out on the streets of my city? Maybe it's because these are the people who were putting together your boards to figure out how to fix this housing issue. Unbelievable. I don't even know that I have any other words for this video, but we do have another one out of Seattle. Meet the new Social Housing Development Board in charge of millions of dollars in regard to social housing.
Hello, my name is Ebo Barton. I use he, him pronouns. And I have lived experience with being chronically homeless, along with supporting the gender diverse community of Seattle.
Oh, great. So he, him, they, them pronouns, and is supporting gender diversity and is an activist. Really going to solve the housing issue. Looking forward to that.
Hi, my name is Devin Porschmidt. I'm one of the board members appointed by the Seattle Renters Coalition. I am a lifelong renter, or renter for my whole adult life. Professionally, I am a Head Start teacher, so I work with low income and largely immigrant families. I have also had a lot of experience living in homes with unsafe conditions and poor maintenance, and have that piece of lived experience. I am also a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the Answer Coalition.
I love that. And the Answer Coalition, for those of you who don't know, is Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. Because this is what we need in our cities that are overrun with a homelessness issue. These two videos are completely emblematic of every single problem that we're seeing right now in metropolitan areas. If you're living in Seattle right now, why? Maybe it's to defend the place where you live and to stand up for your city.
Seattle.
And if that is the case, I am so very proud of you. But if it's not, what are you doing? They're signing up pedophiles to be on the board of fixing homelessness problems. And if it's not pedophiles, it's they, thems, and trans rights activists and people who are working to end racism. And if you thought maybe the video's satire, right? Maybe it's not real. You can go to the council.seattle.gov website and you will find, look, there's Ebo Barton. He, him, or they, them. Okay, an artist, an educator. Here's the trans rights one. All of their different credentials that allow them to do these jobs. I have a feeling, and I'm just going to go out on a strong limb here, the homelessness issue is not going to be solved by this group of people. But I am prepared to be surprised by this. Often I think getting in people who have maybe solved the problem before in other places and maybe taking their advisement and using that in your city is the best route. But I guess lived experience, a little bit of pixie dust solves the housing issue in Seattle. It just blows my mind. And you'd like to think that these are professional institutions that are truly trying their hardest to get the job done. But you come to find out there's videos like this that exist where we are actively advocating for sex offenders and pedophiles to be on the board of solving the homelessness issue. I was truly speechless upon watching this video. I have no other words for you, but thank you for watching. Also, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, maybe reward me for digesting some of this junk that is all over the internet. Have a good day, guys. And if nothing else, be happy you're not living in Seattle.